back and better than ever on Locked On Syracuse. You got Bones, you got Brad, and we've got a little bit of a Syracuse basketball recruiting update for you. We'll tell you who's new on the offer sheet, who's old, and any developments that have occurred. It's on Locked On Syracuse. It happens to be this moment.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Syracuse. Matt Bonaparte, Brad Klein with you. It is a wonderful Monday morning to start the week, and thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Brad, I'm back. I know you probably missed me. You replaced me with Mike McAllister. That's fine. Mike's a good guy. But I'm back, and he's gone. All right, maybe he'll be back one day, but you'll probably be gone by then. That being said, by the way,
maybe
an announcement. This is Brad Klein's last week on Locked On Syracuse. I mean, there was the Brad era. I guess there was the Tim and Tyler era. There was the Brad era. Then now there's the Bones and Brad era. And then there will be the Bones and Owen era when Owen Valentine replaces you on the show next week. Is this your last episode? Or not your last episode. This is your last week of episodes.
Yeah. Good run. I'm going for a personal, or rather a locked on record of the only host to never cover a game. But you know, at least I'm engraved in history in some way, right?
Yeah, something for you. All right. Well, let's talk about basketball that you're not going to cover. Syracuse basketball recruiting.
That way, it's so sad. Hey, I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to be in on the program. I'm going to be a fan from afar. But geez, Bones, just rub salt into the wound. Why don't you? Yikes.
Okay. So we're looking at the 2023 offer sheet. We've gone over it a couple times. Blue Cane gone. Mataz Buzelis gone. Gavin Griffiths gone. Tafara Gapare gone. But there are guys like Reid Ducharme, whose name you've probably heard a million times by now. And then also JP Estrella, whose name you've probably heard even more, as we talked about him last episode, or Brad did. And then we had an interview with him, and some news as well is that we'll have another interview with him at the end of this week. This will be the Friday episode, so look out for that. I'm really excited to talk to JP once again. Good kid. We get to ask him some questions probably about the canceling of his Duke visit and about his Syracuse visit that he'll probably be on at the time. So these are all exciting things.
And make sure you DM us or just tweet at us at LO_Syracuse to let us know what you want to hear from JP as well.
Or email us at losyracuse44@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. So you've got Estrella and you've got Ducharme, who are the probably two top targets of this class. Let's go through right now and think, how many scholarships is Syracuse going to have next year? Joe Girard, that's one. Yep. Jesse Edwards, that's two. So there's two right there. So you can at least bring in two guys. There's a chance, I guess, that Judah Mintz is a one and done. I highly doubt it, but there's a chance. But I don't think anybody thought that with Malachi Richardson either. So there's that. So you've got potentially three, probably two. Munir Hima is not leaving. Is Torrance
you have three? My prediction is you have three. I can't tell you where the third is coming from. My guess is one will make itself available somehow. Either Chaz Owens transferring. He was unsuccessful in that attempt this year. But maybe he transfers, or maybe it's something along the lines.
He might still be out there. You don't know.
By the way, Chaz Owens is not on the roster, so it should be noted he's still in the portal. But you'd imagine that he's probably coming back. Probably.
So
if he hasn't been picked up yet.
Torrance is a senior this season, so that means he's gone as well,
right?
Unless he takes a COVID year or something. So you probably have at least three scholarships.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could have 2 guys or 3 guys come in potentially. Let's look at this list. And Ducharme has an updated top 3, correct, Brad? Read that out for us.
It is Penn State, Xavier, and Syracuse.
A weird top 3. Let me just get out and say
it
that.
Is
really weird. 3 different conferences. You've got the Big East, the Big Ten, and the ACC. Like a very odd big top 3. I mean, Xavier, good basketball school in the past, but like I feel like in the last few seasons they've been what? I mean, did they even make the tournament last season? I don't think so.
But you have Sean Miller coming in. He's trying to revamp the program, and Ducharme said that him being one of the kind of founding recruits of the Miller era is appealing to him, trying to build something and revitalize that program that seems to be part of the sales pitch from Xavier. I honestly don't know what Penn State has that Syracuse doesn't, and you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel to find something that Xavier has that Syracuse doesn't. I think he's going to end up with Syracuse just based off of that logic.
Well, you also got to think that Penn State is going to offer him a ton of playing time. I mean, that's a team that was not good last season.
No, they haven't been good for a few years. They're by no stretch a basketball school.
The Micah Shrewsbury era hasn't been kind to them.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't see it. I think he's going to Syracuse, and largely because of, well, for a couple of reasons. Okay, for one, it seems like they're definitely going to have a scholarship for him. They wouldn't have offered him if not. So they have a scholarship for him. The other thing is that when we were talking to JP Estrella about this, was a couple of weeks ago, about Boeheim, and that is the number one thing I asked Estrella. The thing that I would want to hear about the most is what is the deal with Boeheim? And Estrella said he's been told Boeheim is here. Boeheim's going to be here, and Boeheim is in it for the 2023 class as well. We assumed that last year would be his last season, that this year would be his last season because he's just gearing up for the best recruiting class he's ever had, according to him. But he is very in on Ducharme and Estrella on a personal level.
Here's my thing about Ducharme. I feel I'm getting Xavier vibes from him just because, like, when you get the opportunity to be like, they're pitching to you, like, you're the guy of this era of basketball, like, and every college basketball, college football, college athlete is pretty confident in their ability, right? And they have to be because they're trying to make the league one day. I feel like I'm getting Xavier vibes just because I think I'd want that if I were an athlete to be like, you're the defining player of my coaching tenure. That's something that, like, you have a lot of trust, whatever. And like, I'm sure that Boeheim didn't say that to him, I mean, it's just not the case. Totally different ball game here.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, maybe he comes to Syracuse. Syracuse warm on him according to 24/7. JP Estrella the same. I honestly, with Duke falling out of the Estrella sweepstakes, I feel confident that he's going to come to Syracuse, but also like Iowa is nothing to sneeze at. That's a really good team in the Big Ten. They've had really good players recently, Garza, Bohannon, and I think he could be something there as well. So,
well, there are two schools of thought, and you mentioned the playing time promise that Penn State can give, and other schools, Xavier being one, and Syracuse another, being the opposite way. But there are two schools of thought. Do you want to play or do you want to be a part of a winning team? And Syracuse can pitch that, even though, even though they're coming off their worst season in the Boeheim era, nearly half a century. They have some young talent. They have Benny Williams coming off what was a very tough year, but you're expecting him to be better. I mean, that freshman class that we're going to see this year is going to be loaded, and it's going to turn into a really strong sophomore class, making way for some talented freshmen, whether it be Ducharme, Estrella, or someone else. And it seems like an attractive thing to me, allowing me the chance to grow, but also be a part of a winning team. I think
ready for this?
I really think he's Syracuse. I really do.
I just got a crazy segue idea. Ready? If they end up coming to Syracuse, Brad, maybe they're going to be looking for a job. And when I went to Syracuse, I worked at the I School right here. It says it.
You did it.
Information Studies School. I'm wearing a peer advisor shirt on the back. I didn't find that job at LinkedIn Jobs, but maybe you could, as you gear up for fall. You need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster And for free, create a free job posted minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. And did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, not / but backslash. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we're here, and there you go. There's the link on the screen for you if you need to really figure out the link for LinkedIn Jobs. We're here on Locked On Syracuse, talking about the class of 2023 offer sheet for Syracuse basketball, highlighted by 4 stars Reid Ducharme and JP Estrella. And the focus right now is on Ducharme because we talked about Estrella in last week's episode with Mike McAllister. Bones was absent. I was there. McAllister was great, and he gave us some awesome insight. Estrella interview coming up later in the week, Friday to be exact, and while he's on his Syracuse visit. Brad Klein, Matt Bonaparte, we're looking forward to that. But also Reid Ducharme. And I feel like to a certain degree, it's definitely different than it was in 2022. But it's hard to talk about Ducharme without talking about Estrella, even though they really haven't been linked that much, so much as, say, a Kadir Copeland and Justin Taylor, or even a Justin Taylor Kamari Land that didn't end up working out. But players recruiting players for 22, and we saw that a lot, and Dior Johnson as well. Not happening right now, but something that we ought to ask JP on Friday is, how much have you been in contact with the other guys in the class?
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting answer. Because that is something I wonder about. You know, like if I was being recruited to Syracuse, and a guy that is also very good at basketball was being recruited to Syracuse, I think I'd probably reach out and be like, "You going, man? Like,
yeah,
you want to go together?"
Like, now they play different positions, so that shouldn't be a problem. It's not like he's asking, "Hey, are you going because I want to play?" It's, "Are you going because I want to play with someone like you?" So I think this could be good for Syracuse, and it's almost like 2 square pegs fitting into square holes, in that you only have 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, but probably 3 scholarships to offer, and you're only looking at 2, maybe 3 prospects very legitimately, and these guys seem like they fit very well. So it seems to make a lot of sense for everyone.
Yep. And on the on the offer sheet that Syracuse isn't necessarily so hot on the trail of, there are names like Isaiah Miranda, who's a 7-foot center, Papa Conte, who I've heard a lot of people are interested in and really want to come to the Hill. And then there's also huge names like the number 1 overall recruit in the nation for the 2023 class, DJ Wagner, who Syracuse has, of course, offered, but so have many other teams. Looks like Kentucky, Louisville, or Memphis is getting him. There's also Elijah Gertrude, a 3-star combo guard who's 6'3", 180, a lot lower in terms of rankings. He's not near that number 1 spot, all the way down at 169. But hey, sometimes that works out, and you get a player like, I don't know, Marek Dolezaj, who comes out of nowhere from Eastern Europe.
So okay,
let's talk
about Gertrude for a second, because this is a Jersey City guy from Hudson Catholic for 23, and this seems like the kind of guy who might be Syracuse's consolation prize if Ducharme doesn't work out. Now, he's not a lock, because there are some other very legitimate schools looking at him, Rutgers being one of them, and that's, again, the
Kansas being
school.
one of them, too.
Kansas being the other big one, Virginia. And Pittsburgh, the non-negligible ones.
How about Iona there, too? Patino.
Don't forget about Patino, of course. So, yeah, I mean, you have some competition there, but it feels like the logical thing to do if you can't get Ducharme. Obviously, Ducharme is your top guy outside of Estrella in the class of 23, but Gertrude looks like he could be that other guy that they get if they can't scoop up Ducharme.
Sure. I mean, potentially. And there is a longer list of teams that are in on this kid, which kind of makes me
Maryland,
think he's a
Temple,
lot better than his
Northwestern.
3-star rating. So you got Virginia, Kansas, like we mentioned, but Pitt in conference, St. John's wants him, Seton Hall wants him, DePaul, Maryland, even Northwestern. They haven't offered, but they're on the trail. So a lot of teams want this kid, and maybe he's a name that you kind of look out for going forward. But some of the other names you should look out for going forward is one of the new names in this class that Syracuse has offered, and that's Mike Williams, who is a 6'2", 4-star guard from Calvert Hall College in Towson, Maryland, which is a place Syracuse has gone before to the well of prospects.
That's right.
An interesting list of players or of teams here that are in on Mike Williams, Clemson being the leading one. Which I find a little bit interesting. They want to pull him south. But Syracuse is right there with them. And like Brad and I always say, it's not a real recruit until UMass wants him, and they're in on this kid.
Hey,
so
you got the UMass stamp of approval. Also, you have a lot of other just classic 24/7 schools on this. Like, okay, who do I have? GW, I feel like, and George Mason are just there, just cause. But Syracuse is one of four Power 5 schools offering him, and the only
not
ACC
Power 5.
School. What's that?
4. I thought you were including DePaul.
The only ACC school outside of Clemson. So it's Clemson and Syracuse, and it would be interesting. I mean, I think that Williams wouldn't be as good of a fit as, say, Gertrude. And they have him listed at 6'2", 175. I mean, at that size, you're likely looking at just a point guard, and whereas Gertrude might be able to play more of a 1-2-3 if you stretch him role. But you're probably keeping Judah Mintz for more than a year. I'm operating under the assumption that he's not a one and done. And even if he is, you have Kadir Copeland there as well. And I really like Kadir Copeland. So you don't really have a point guard problem. Whereas Ducharme, Gertrude are more versatile.
Yeah, they fit those holes. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, it's kind of like pitching in baseball. You can really never have enough when it comes to guard play. So I don't think Mike Williams would be a bad thing to have, but at the same time, you know, I think he could also easily get frustrated in a room that's so deep and maybe want to transfer, even if he does end up coming to Syracuse. The other name that you should probably be looking out for is Tyler Betsy, but let's talk about him after you read this ad, Brad.
Yo, I'll tell you, first of all, with Tyler Betsy, he's going to have to wait because this is important. BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Bones, you were saying.
Yeah, so Tyler Betsy, he's got an interesting list as well of teams that want him. He is a small forward out of Windsor, Connecticut, 6'8", 175. There's an article written by Neil Adler on Fansided about him, so I suggest you go and read that as well, because that man is really good at his job. Betsy, his list of teams, this is a very attainable competition for Syracuse. I mean, you've got teams like Rutgers, Nebraska, Iowa. TCU's on there too, but Brown, Central Connecticut State, Iona again, Rhode Island, Sacred Heart, the Bonnies want him. He's a class of 2024 kid, so we're probably a year away from any ground being made up. But it's interesting to see Boeheim and the recruiting staff kind of going out and saying, all right, we're going to lay the groundwork for what the future holds in terms of recruiting. And that's a year in which, you know, how Syracuse every other year, it's a big class. So this is the 6 kid year. And then the next year will probably be 2 or 3. And then you're going to have another big class.
Yeah.
So he's going to be part of that. Maybe he's the front runner in that. Who knows? He's currently unranked.
It's so hard to figure out how much room they'll have, especially because we don't know. I mean, maybe Judah Mintz is a 4-year player. We don't know. I think I know Syracuse's coaching staff has a better idea than we do, and I'd imagine they're planning for him to not be on the hill for 4 years. But then again, they have that same expectation about DeJuan Coleman. You just never know. I think that, I mean, look, Betsy could be nice, 6'7", 175, a small forward from Connecticut, and he's got a little something to him. And you have the stamp of approval from other programs that are interested in him. And the Virginia Tech thing, the Pittsburgh thing, that's important because when you have the ACC interest, now you know, okay, well, if we don't get him, someone else might, and that's gonna nip us. So I think that it's very early on Betsy, and it's gonna be interesting to see where he projects in the even weeks, months, year going forward, and how he progresses in his game. I mean, sooner rather than later, you might hear, okay, well, Betsy offered by Duke. Now he's a 5-star,
Exactly.
because John Shire likes him. So it's so early, but it's good that Syracuse is in on him early. That's important.
I'm watching his mixtape right now. I love it. It's a minute long. And about 5 seconds in, it pans to the corner where his dad's standing, and it says, "Bobo, my dad."
This is this is kind of on the spot, but is there any way that we can watch it?
I'll try to give you a second on that.
All right, that's fine. I'll give you a second on that. So Locked On Syracuse, we're here and we're vamping while Bones figures it out. No. But Tyler Betsy, okay, so class of 2024. Obviously, the focus is on 2023 right now. If you're just scrubbing along the podcast,
due to explicit language in the song, we cannot play it.
Can you mute it?
That would be a waste of time.
All right.
I just think you should go search for it yourself. Anyway, Betsy's a guy that you should be looking for, as well as a new name in terms of Syracuse recruiting. Syracuse recruiting right now, we've talked about it a couple times, but it's in such a weird spot because after this season and what these recruits do, it kind of dictates what recruiting is going to look like for the next, 10 or so years maybe. Because if these guys come out and are fantastic, immediately a Syracuse offer already holds more weight. So we don't really know what it's going to be in a couple years. Maybe they don't even care about Tyler Betsy in a couple seasons. Who knows?
It's possible, yeah. I feel like a lot of this, you're right, is contingent on the class of 2022, and maybe even just as so. How successful are you on the recruiting trail for 23? That will also depend. I mean, if you don't get anyone for 23, let's just make it up. Let's say Ducharme and Estrella don't come to Syracuse, and anyone else that you might be really interested in, say Gertrude, doesn't come. So now you're left with like open scholarship spots. I'm just thinking of a doomsday scenario, right? Well, now the class of 2024 people might see more room on the roster, but they also might say, hold on, why are the people a year older than me scared of this program? What am I missing? You know what? Forget it. I'm going to Penn State, right? So that's something that you might be also having to pay attention to is Judah Mintz's play matters and Justin Taylor's play matters for the very immediate future for this program, but also the distant future, but also how JP Estrella decides with his visit this coming week. That matters. Ducharme,
Sure.
that matters. So it's all very connected. The thing I will say, and we touched up on it earlier, is that I've been saying, just like everyone else, that Syracuse recruiting is in a weird spot. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's not, because it does largely depend on how the class of 2022 plays with all their eggs in that basket right now. But the reason I've been saying it's weird on top of that is because of Boeheim. And the more I think about it, and the more I hear about it, and the more I read about it, and the more Estrella talks about it, the more it seems like Boeheim's just old. He's not going anywhere. It's almost like Tom Brady. Like, I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady until he loses. I'm not going to say that Jim Boeheim leaves until he's already left, right? So, I don't know. Class of 2024 and Betsy's talking to Boeheim, cool. Right at that point, and that should add some legitimacy and common denominator to Syracuse recruiting right now.
Well, if you want to get more on the ACC, go make Locked On ACC your second listen every day. Host Candace Cooper and the local experts of Locked On take you across the ACC in half an hour. Make Locked On ACC your second listen. That's Locked On ACC. And Brad and I thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen. We will see ya tomorrow.